3 weeks after their victory against the Harvester Scout, Jake found himself aboard a Kelteran fleet ship hidden in the shadow of a dead planet. The journey to reach the survivors had taken them to 7 star systems, following secret routes that Zara's armor had remembered from before the fall of her homeworld. The Kelteran fleet was smaller than Jake had expected. Only 12 ships remained from what had once been a mighty civilization. Each vessel bore the scars of running battles with the Harvesters, their hulls patched with mismatched metals and jury-rigged systems. "Welcome to what remains of my people," Zara said as they walked through the flagship's corridors. Her armor had changed again during the journey, incorporating more human design principles that Jake had taught it. Other Kelterans they passed stopped to stare, their own armor companions flickering with curiosity about the modifications. Commander Vex was waiting for them in the fleet's main conference chamber. He was older than Zara, his crystalline skin patches more pronounced, his white hair streaked with silver. His armor was battle-worn, but still functional, glowing with the steady light of a veteran warrior. "So, this is the human who repairs armor with impossible methods," Vex said, his English heavily accented but clear. "Zara's armor speaks of you constantly." Jake extended his hand in the human greeting he had taught Zara. Vex looked puzzled for a moment, then clasped Jake's hand with both of his own. "Commander, my name is Jake Morrison. I want to help your people fight the Harvesters." "One human against a galaxy of machines?" Vex asked, but there was no mockery in his voice. "Show me what makes you think this is possible." For the next hour, Jake demonstrated the modifications he had made to Zara's armor. The assembled Kelteran warriors watched in amazement as the armor shifted between configurations, adapting to different combat scenarios faster than any of them had ever seen. "The armor learns from human concepts," Jake explained. "It takes your biotechnology and combines it with human ideas about flexibility and innovation." An older female warrior named Kira stepped forward. "Our armor has served us for generations. Why should we change what has always worked?" "Because what always worked doesn't work against the Harvesters," Zara said firmly. "They have learned to counter our traditional methods. We need new methods." Jake activated a holographic display showing the battle against the scout ship. "The Harvesters expect predictable behavior. When we gave them something completely unexpected, they couldn't adapt fast enough." Commander Vex studied the display carefully. "You turned a research vessel into a weapon using mining equipment and biotechnology. This should not be possible." "That's exactly why it worked," Jake said. "Human engineering is about making the impossible possible. We don't accept that things can't be done. We find ways to do them anyway." Over the next few days, Jake worked with the Kelteran engineers to upgrade their armor systems. Each armor companion was different, having grown and developed alongside its warrior partner. Jake had to approach each one individually, learning its unique characteristics before introducing human concepts. The first warrior to volunteer for the full upgrade was a young scout named Tor. His armor was eager to learn, almost impatient with the slow process of traditional Kelteran development. When Jake connected the human modification systems, Tor's armor practically sang with excitement. "It feels like waking up," Tor said in wonder, as his armor completed its transformation. "Like I was sleeping before, and now I am truly alive." Word of the successful upgrades spread through the fleet quickly. Soon Jake had a line of warriors waiting for their turn. Each upgrade was different, as the armor companions incorporated human concepts in their own unique ways. But the biggest surprise came when they received a coded transmission from an unexpected source. "It's from the Vorthen crystal ships," Zara translated, as the message played. "They want to meet with us." The Vorthen were survivors from the crystal cities that Jake had seen in Zara's memories. They thought in patterns of light and resonance. Their technology based on crystalline structures that could store and process information in ways that seemed almost magical. 2 days later, 3 Vorthen ships appeared at the rendezvous point. They were beautiful beyond description, like living jewels floating in space. When the Vorthen delegation came aboard the Kelteran flagship, Jake understood why they had sought them out. The Vorthan leader, a being who called herself Bright Echo of Dawn, communicated through patterns of colored light that her translator converted into words. "We have heard whispers across the crystal networks," she said. "Whispers of armor that learns from other mind patterns, of human thoughts that make old things into new things." Jake found himself explaining human engineering principles to an entirely different type of mind. Where Kel'Thurans thought in biological terms, the Vorthan thought in harmonic frequencies and crystal lattice structures. But somehow, human concepts of adaptation and innovation translated across the gap. Your crystal technology could work with human ideas, Jake realized. Instead of fixed structures, we could make crystals that reshape themselves based on need. Bright Echo of Dawn's light pattern shifted to what Jake learned was excitement. Yes, understanding flows. Human mind sees crystal potential that crystal minds could not see. The meeting expanded when the Luminous arrived. These energy beings existed as pure consciousness held together by magnetic fields, their ships powered by their own life force. Their representative, who called itself Dancing Flame, was fascinated by the concept of technology that could evolve. "We are beings of change," Dancing Flame communicated through fluctuations in electromagnetic radiation. "Our forms shift with our thoughts. Our ships reshape with our needs. But we never thought to teach solid matter technology to change like us." Jake spent hours with each species, learning how their minds worked and how human concepts might apply to their technologies. The Luminous could already reshape matter with their thoughts, but they had never considered teaching that ability to their tools and weapons. The Vorthan had perfect memory storage in their crystals, but they had never made crystals that could learn and grow like living things. "We're not just combining technologies," Jake realized as he worked late one night in the expanded engineering bay. "We're combining ways of thinking about problems." Zara sat beside him, her armor glowing softly in the dim light. Over the weeks of working together, she had become more than just an alien ally. She was a friend, someone who understood his excitement about solving impossible problems. "The armor have been sharing your thoughts with the other armor companions," she said. "They all want to learn human thinking now. But more than that, they want to teach human thinking to other technologies." "What do you mean?" "Vorthan crystals that can adapt like human tools. Luminous energy fields that can innovate like human. Minds, Kel'Thuran biotechnology that can change like human engineering." Zara paused, her armor shifting colors as she thought. "We are creating something new. Not just better weapons, but better ways of thinking about everything." The next morning brought news that changed everything. A combined patrol of upgraded Kel'Thuran, Vorthan, and Luminous ships had encountered a Harvester attack fleet. The battle should have been a massacre. The Harvesters outnumbered the Allied ships 3-1. Instead, the Allies had won decisively. "The Harvesters couldn't adapt," Commander Vex reported, his voice filled with amazement. "Every time they thought they understood our tactics, our ships changed into something else." The Vorthan crystals became weapons, then shields, then sensor arrays. The luminous energy beings powered Kel'Thuran biotechnology beyond its normal limits. Our armor adapted faster than Harvester analysis systems could follow. Jake felt a thrill of excitement. They're learning to think like humans while keeping their own unique abilities. "Yes," Zara said, her armor practically glowing with pride. "And that is something the Harvesters have never faced before." The coalition grew rapidly after news of the victory spread. More Kel'Thuran ships emerged from hiding. Vorthan crystal cities that had thought themselves doomed began transmitting coordinates. Luminous energy clouds that had been fleeing for decades turned around and headed for the rendezvous points. But the biggest surprise came when they received a transmission from a source none of them had expected. "This is Captain Susan Hayes of the Earth Defense Force ship Valiant," the message began. "We've been tracking Harvester movements toward human space. We understand you have new technologies that might help us fight them. Permission to approach for discussions?" Jake looked at Zara, then at the representatives of 3 alien species who had become his friends and partners. "I think we're about to get a lot busier." "Good," Zara said, her armor shifting to its most confident configuration. "The more minds we have thinking in new ways, the better our chances become." As human ships began arriving at the Coalition rendezvous points, Jake realized they had created something unprecedented in galactic history. Not just an alliance of different species, but a fusion of different ways of thinking about problems. The Harvesters had conquered the galaxy by being more advanced than anyone else. Now they were about to face something they had never encountered: technology that could think and adapt like humans, powered by the unique of multiple species working together. Jake spent the next 3 days working on Zara's armor almost non-stop. The engineering bay had become his workshop, filled with human tools and alien technology that shouldn't have worked together but somehow did. Every time he made a connection between human engineering and Kelthoran biotechnology, something new and unexpected happened. "Try moving now," Jake said, stepping back from the armor's chest panel. Zara stood up and stretched, her movements flowing like water. The armor responded to her thoughts faster than before, anticipating her needs. Where once it had been silver and blue, now it showed traces of gold where Jake's modifications had taken hold. "It feels different," Zara said, wonder in her voice. "Stronger, more alive," Jake nodded, wiping his hands on a rag. "I've been thinking about what you said, about how the armor learns and adapts. So I built in some human concepts: redundancy, modularity, adaptive responses." "Explain?" Zara asked, sitting cross-legged on the floor. Jake had learned this was how she liked to listen when he taught her about human engineering. Redundancy means backup systems. If one part fails, another part takes over. Humans learned this from making machines that couldn't break down when lives depended on them. Jake pulled up a holographic display showing the armor's internal structure. "I've added backup pathways for every major system." Zara studied the display, her violet eyes tracking the new connections. "So if Harvesters damage one system, armor keeps working?" "Exactly. But that's just the beginning. See these modular connections? They let the armor reconfigure itself for different situations. The same system can become a weapon, a shield, or a sensor array depending on what you need." The armor glowed brighter as Zara considered this. "Show me." Jake smiled and activated one of the new systems. The armor's right arm suddenly shifted and changed, the surface flowing like liquid metal. In seconds, it had transformed from a normal limb into what looked like a weapon. "It's not just a weapon, though," Jake explained. "Focus on scanning instead of fighting." Zara closed her eyes and concentrated. The weapon arm changed again, becoming a complex sensor array that could detect energy signatures across multiple spectrums. Then, with another thought, it became a shield that could absorb and redirect energy attacks. "This is incredible," Zara breathed. "But how?" "Human thinking," Jake said proudly. "We don't like having single-purpose tools. We want things that can do many jobs. Swiss Army knives, multi-tools, smartphones, we always try to pack more functions into the same space." Dr. Carter's voice crackled over the intercom. "Jake, Zara, please report to the bridge immediately. We have a problem." They found Captain Bennett and his crew gathered around the tactical display. A red dot was blinking ominously near the edge of the system. "Harvester scout ship," Lieutenant Foster reported. "It appeared an hour ago and has been scanning our position." Jake felt his stomach drop. "They found us." "It gets worse," Captain Bennett said grimly. "We've been trying to run, but it's faster than we are. It'll catch us within 6 hours. Dr. Carter looked worried. "Our weapons won't do much against Harvester technology. We're a research vessel, not a warship." Zara stood up, her armor shifting to a more combat-ready configuration. "One scout ship I can handle, but if it reports back to the main fleet ... it won't get the chance," Jake said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. We're going to destroy it. With what? Captain Bennett asked. Our lasers are meant for mining, not combat. Jake grinned, the same expression he got when he was about to do something that others thought was impossible. We're going to use human innovation. Zara, how long? Does it take for a harvester to analyze and count a new technology? Depends on complexity. Simple weapons, maybe minutes. Complex systems, maybe hours. Then we're going to hit it with something so weird, so unexpected that it won't know how to respond. Jake turned to Captain Bennett. Sir, I need access to the mining lasers, the cargo bay, in about 2 hours. What are you planning? Dr. Carter asked. I'm going to turn this research ship into something the harvesters have never seen before. A hybrid of human engineering and Kelteran biotechnology. Captain Bennett looked skeptical. That's impossible. Our systems aren't compatible. They weren't compatible yesterday, Jake corrected. But Zara's armor has been learning human engineering principles. It can act as a bridge between our technologies. Zara nodded eagerly. Armor wants to try. It is excited about connecting with human ship systems. This is insane, Lieutenant Foster muttered. Exactly, Jake said. Insane is what humans do best. The harvesters won't expect it because no other species would try it. 2 hours later, Jake stood in the modified cargo bay, surrounded by a maze of cables and jury-rig connections. He had linked Zara's armor to the ship's main computer, creating a hybrid control system that shouldn't have worked but somehow did. Status report, Captain Bennett's voice came over the intercom. Ready, Jake replied. Zara, how do you feel? Zara was standing in the center of the cargo bay, her armor connected to the ship through dozens of neural interfaces. Her eyes were closed, but she was smiling. I can feel the ship's systems. It's like having a very large body. The Harvester Scout is approaching, Lieutenant Foster reported. It's scanning us with some kind of energy beam. Let it scan, Jake said. It won't understand what it's seeing. Through the ship's sensors, they watched the Harvester vessel approach. It was sleek and deadly, built from the remains of a dozen different species. As it drew closer, Jake could see organic parts mixed with mechanical systems, creating something that was neither fully alive nor fully machine. It's powering up weapons, Dr. Carter warned. Now, Zara, Jake said calmly. The Stellar Dawn transformed. The mining lasers, designed for cutting through asteroids, suddenly began firing in patterns that defied their original programming. But these weren't ordinary laser blasts. They were enhanced by Kelteran biotechnology, carrying energy signatures that confused the Harvester's sensors. The scout ship tried to adapt, its systems analyzing the incoming fire. But every time it thought it understood the attack pattern, Jake and Zara changed it. The lasers became plasma bursts. The plasma bursts became energy nets. The energy nets became something entirely new that had never existed before. It's working, Lieutenant, Foster said in amazement. The Harvester can't lock onto us. Now for the real surprise, Jake said. Zara, remember what we discussed about human guerrilla tactics? Yes, attack from unexpected direction with unexpected method. The Stellar Dawn's cargo bay opened, and something unprecedented happened. The ship's entire supply of mining drones launched at once, but they had been modified with pieces of Kelteran technology. They moved like a swarm of angry insects, each one following slightly different programming. The Harvester Scout tried to shoot them down, but the drones were too unpredictable. Some acted like missiles, others like jamming devices. A few actually attached themselves to the enemy ship and began doing what they were originally designed for: mining. They're cutting through the hull, Dr. Carter reported with glee. The Harvester ship began to lose structural integrity as the modified mining drones ate through its armor. Its weapon systems faltered, then failed entirely. Within minutes, the once threatening vessel was nothing but floating debris. We did it, Captain Bennett said, his voice filled with disbelief. We actually did it. Jake helped Zara disconnect from the ship's systems. She was tired from the mental strain, but her armor was glowing brighter than ever. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Different. Better. The armor learned so much from connecting with human systems. It feels like it grew up." "The question is," Dr. Carter said, "what happens when word of this gets out? To both our species and the harvesters." Jake looked at the debris field on the tactical display. "The harvesters will know something new is happening. They'll be more cautious." "And our people?" Captain Bennett asked. "They'll want to know how we did it. How human creativity and alien technology can work together." Jake smiled at Zara. "I think we're going to be very busy." Zara nodded, her armor shifting to a more relaxed configuration. "Other Kelthorans will want to meet humans. We'll want to learn human ways of thinking about problems. And humans will want to understand Kelthoran biotechnology," Jake added. "This is just the beginning." As the Stellar Dawn resumed course toward human space, Jake felt a sense of anticipation. They had proven that human innovation and alien technology could create something entirely new. The harvesters had dominated the galaxy by adapting to predictable enemies, but they had never faced anything like human creativity enhanced by alien capabilities. The war was far from over, but for the first time in generations, the galaxy's organic species had a real chance of winning. Jake sat in the engineering bay with Zara, preparing for their second connection attempt. The first time had been brief and overwhelming. He had felt her thoughts mixing with his own, her memories flooding his mind like a river of alien experiences. Now they were going to try again, but deeper this time. "Remember," Zara said, her armor glowing softly in the dim light, "when minds connect, you will see things that happen to me. Some things are beautiful. Some things are terrible. Do not let terrible things make you afraid." Jake nodded, placing his hands on the armor's neural interface points. The metal felt warm and alive under his fingers. "I'm ready." "Armor is ready too," Zara said, closing her violet eyes. "It wants to show you truth about harvesters. About what they really are." The connection formed slowly this time. Jake felt his consciousness expanding, touching something vast and alien. Zara's mind was like a song made of light and memory, complex and beautiful. The armor's intelligence was different, more focused and protective, like a guardian watching over them both. Then the memories began. Jake found himself standing on a world of crystal spires and floating gardens. 3 suns hung in a purple sky, casting rainbow shadows through the air. This was Kelthora Prime, Zara's home world as it had been before the harvesters came. He was seeing through Zara's eyes, feeling her emotions as she remembered better times. The city around them was alive with music and laughter. Kelthoran families moved through the streets, their armored companions glowing with contentment. Children played games that involved shaping light with their thoughts, while adults tended gardens that grew in midair. It was paradise, Zara's voice whispered in his mind. "We had peace for 1,000 cycles. We thought we were safe." The memories shifted, becoming darker. Jake felt Zara's confusion and fear as alarms began sounding across the city. Ships appeared in the sky, but they were wrong somehow. They moved without grace, without the flowing beauty that marked Kelthoran technology. They were angular and harsh, like machines built by things that had never understood what beauty meant. "The first attack," Zara's mental voice explained. "We did not know what they were. We tried to communicate." Jake watched in horror as the strange ships began firing on the crystal spires. But their weapons didn't just destroy buildings. They seemed to consume them, turning matter into energy that flowed back into the attacking ships. The harvesters weren't just conquering, they were eating everything. The memory became more personal. Jake felt Zara's panic as she ran through collapsing streets, her armored companion guiding her toward the emergency launch bays. Around them, other Kelthorans were falling, their armor systems overloaded by some kind of energy weapon that turned their own technology against them. "They study us while they attack," Zara explained. "They learn how our weapons work. Then they use that knowledge to defeat us faster. Jake saw a group of Kelteran warriors making a final stand at the city's central plaza. They fought bravely, their armor enhancing their natural abilities, but the harvesters adapted to every tactic within minutes. Weapons that worked at the beginning of the battle became useless by the end. "Show me the harvesters themselves," Jake said through the mental link. "What do they actually look like?" The memory focused on one of the attacking machines. Jake gasped as he saw it clearly for the first time. It wasn't just a robot or a ship, it was a horrible combination of both. The creature had once been organic, but now it was mostly metal and circuits. Parts of different species were visible in its construction, as if it had been built from the remains of its victims. "They take the best parts of each species they defeat," Zara explained. "They add those parts to themselves. They become stronger with every world they consume." Jake felt sick as he realized what this meant. They're not just killing people, they're turning them into more harvesters. Yes, death will be mercy. This is worse than death. The memory shifted again, showing Jake the moment when Zara escaped in her patrol ship. He felt her anguish as she watched her home world's lights go out one by one. The floating cities crashed to the ground, their crystal spires shattered. The 3 suns still shone, but now they looked down on a dead world. "How many worlds had they taken?" Jake asked. "Hundreds, maybe thousands. They have been doing this for longer than any species remembers. They grow stronger with each victory." The memory changed to show Jake other worlds that had fallen. He saw the Vorthan crystal cities, more beautiful than diamonds, cracking apart under harvester assault. He saw the energy beings called luminous, being drained of their light and transformed into power sources for harvester weapons. He saw the plant-like Verdani, peaceful gardeners of living worlds, being converted into biological processing units. Each species fought the same way, Zara continued. They used their traditional weapons, their traditional tactics. They were brave, but they were predictable. The harvesters learned to counter them quickly. Jake felt a chill of understanding. But humans fight differently. "Yes, show me human battle memories." Jake concentrated, sharing his own memories of human conflicts. He showed Zara how humans had adapted throughout history, turning farming tools into weapons, using guerrilla tactics against superior forces, constantly changing their methods to stay unpredictable. Through the armor's intelligence, Jake felt Zara's excitement growing. "Your species does not fight the same way twice. You change tactics in the middle of battle. You use weapons in ways they were never meant to be used." "Because we have to," Jake replied. "Humans have always been fighting stronger enemies. We learn to survive by being smarter, not stronger." The memory connection deepened, and Jake suddenly found himself experiencing Zara's first encounter with human thinking. It was the moment when he had repaired her armor, and she had felt his mind working through the problem. She had been amazed by how he approached the alien technology, not with fear or reverence, but with curiosity and creativity. "You broke apart my armor systems in your mind," she said with wonder. "You imagined new ways to connect them. No other species thinks like this." Jake felt the armor's artificial intelligence responding to his memories. It was learning from every human concept he shared, incorporating new ideas into its basic programming. The armor was becoming something new, something that combined Kelteran biotechnology with human innovation. "The armor is changing," Jake said, feeling the transformation happening around in double quotes. "Yes, it is becoming hybrid. Part Kelteran, part human thinking. It is stronger now, but more than that, it is unpredictable." The memory connection began to fade, but Jake felt one last image from Zara's mind. It was a vision of the future, showing human and Kelteran warriors fighting side by side against the harvesters. Their armor systems glowed with hybrid technology, adapting and changing faster than the enemy could counter. "Is that possible?" Jake asked as the connection ended. Zara opened her eyes, and Jake saw hope there for the first time. "Armor believes it is possible. It has tasted human creativity. It wants more. Jake looked down his hands, still tingling from the neural connection. What do we do next? We prepare. The harvesters are coming to human space. They expect to find another species like all the others, predictable, traditional, easy to defeat. Instead, they will find humans. And Kelthoran's working with humans, Jake added. Yes, they will find something they have never seen before, a species that refuses to fight the same way twice, alive with technology that can adapt as fast as human minds can imagine. Jake stood up, feeling energized despite the exhausting mental connection. Then let's give them a surprise they'll never forget. Zara smiled, her armor glowing brighter. The armor agrees. It is excited to learn more human ways of thinking about war. As they prepared to leave the engineering bay, Jake felt a new sense of purpose. The harvesters might be stronger, but they had never faced an enemy that could think like humans. They had never encountered technology that could change as fast as human. Creativity could imagine new possibilities. The war for the galaxy was about to begin. But for the first time, Jake felt like his species might actually have a chance. The conference room felt smaller with Zara in it. She sat across from Captain Bennett, Dr. Carter, and Jake, her alien presence making everyone nervous. Her armor had changed since Jake's repairs, becoming more responsive and alive-looking. The crystalline patches on her skin caught the light as she moved, creating patterns that seemed to shift with her emotions. "Tell us who you are," Captain Bennett said, his voice formal but not unkind. "And why you were floating in space." Zara looked at Jake before answering. During the past few hours, she had learned more human words through what she called the armor's teaching function. Her English was still broken, but getting better with each sentence. "I am Scout Warrior of Kelthoran Collective," she said, her musical voice filling the room. "My people fight the harvesters for many cycles. We are losing." Dr. Carter leaned forward. "Harvesters? What are they?" Zara's eyes darkened, and the armor's glow dimmed slightly. "Machines. Not alive like us. They eat worlds. They eat people. They make everything into more machines." Jake watched as Zara struggled to find the right words. The armor around her neck pulsed gently, as if it was helping her think. They had been destroying for a long time. First the Nexitari fell, then the Vorthan crystal cities. "Then my home." "Your home?" Jake asked quietly. "Kelthora Prime, beautiful world with 3 suns. Had floating cities and crystal forests. The harvesters came in the night, took everything." Zara's voice became softer, sadder. "I was on patrol ship when it happened. Saw the lights go out. Saw the forest burn." Captain Bennett exchanged glances with Dr. Carter. "How many of your people survived?" "Few. Very few. We run now. Hide. Fight when we can." "But harvesters are too strong. They learn from each battle. They get stronger." Jake studied Zara's armor more carefully. In the better light, he could see that it wasn't just protective gear. The armor moved like it was breathing, and he could see neural pathways running through it like veins. "Your armor," he said. "It's not just equipment, is it?" Zara smiled for the first time since they had found her. "You see much, Jake Morrison. Armor is partner, is friend, is part of me." She touched the armor gently, and it responded by brightening slightly. "Each warrior gets armor when young. Armor grows with warrior, learns with warrior. We become one mind, one body. That's incredible," Dr. Carter breathed. "A true symbiotic relationship with technology." "When you repaired armor," Zara continued, looking directly at Jake, "you touched my mind. That is why I felt tickled. Your hands were fixing not just circuits, but part of my thoughts." Jake felt a strange sensation at her words. He remembered the moment when he had connected his tools to the armor's neural interface. For just an instant, he had felt something else in his mind, something alien but not hostile. "The armor learns human language from you?" Captain Bennett asked. "Yes." Armor touched Jake's mind during repair. Learned his words, his thoughts about fixing things. "Now armor teaches me." Zara paused, searching for the right words. Jake's mind is different. Strong, creative. Armor has never touched mine like his. Jake felt his face getting warm. I just did what I had to do to save you. Yes, that is what makes humans special. Zara's voice became more serious. Other species, when they first meet, harvesters, they try to fight the same way they always fight. They use old weapons, old tactics. They fail. But humans are different? Dr. Carter asked. Yes, Armor showed me Jake's thoughts when he repaired me. Humans think in new ways. You take things apart and put them back together in ways they were never meant to be. You make weapons from tools. You make tools from weapons. You adapt. Captain Bennett leaned back in his chair. You're saying we have some kind of advantage against these harvesters? Maybe. Armor thinks so. In Jake's mind, Armor saw solutions to problems that Kelteran technology could not solve. New ways to make Armor stronger, faster, better. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. The Armor can improve itself using human ideas? Yes. Already it has changed since repair. Armor uses human concepts now. Before, Armor was good. Now, Armor is better. Dr. Carter was taking notes frantically. This is amazing. A technology that can evolve and adapt using concepts from other species. Other species cannot do this, Zara said. Vorthen think in crystals and light. Luminous think in energy and flow. Verdani think in growth and life. Only humans think in change. Change? Jake asked. Yes. You break things to make them better. You take apart what works to make what works better. This is strange to other species. They perfect what they have. Humans perfect what they do not have yet. Captain Bennett stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. These harvesters you mentioned, are they coming here? To human space? Zara's expression became grim. They are always coming. They know about humans. They watch. They wait. How long do we have? Jake asked. Not long. My patrol ship detected harvester scouts in systems near human colonies. They are studying you, learning your weaknesses. But they don't know about our strengths, Doctor, Carter said thoughtfully. No, they do not understand human thinking. They expect you to fight like other species. They expect you to use weapons the way weapons are supposed to be used. They do not expect you to change weapons into new weapons. Jake stood up suddenly. Can you show me more about how the armor works? If I can understand it better, maybe I can help improve it more. Zara looked uncertain. Armor connection is very personal, like sharing dreams, like touching souls. I understand, Jake said. But if it could help save both our species. Zara was quiet for a long moment. The armor's glow shifted through different colors as she thought. Finally, she nodded. Yes, Armor agrees. It wants to learn more from Jake's mind. It wants to become stronger. Is it safe? Captain Bennett asked. Armor will not hurt Jake, but Jake will see my memories, will feel my thoughts, will understand who I am. Zara looked directly at Jake. Will know my fear, my pain, my hope. Jake met her gaze steadily. I'm not afraid. Good, because harvesters are afraid of nothing. To defeat them, we must be braver than they are stronger. Dr. Carter closed her notebook. When do we start? Now, Zara said, standing up. Every moment we wait, harvesters get closer to human worlds. Every moment we wait, more people die. Jake followed Zara out of the conference room, his mind racing with possibilities. The alien technology was beyond anything humans had ever encountered, but it was also willing to learn from them. The combination of human creativity and Kelteran biotechnology might just be enough to stand against the harvesters. As they walked toward the engineering bay, Zara spoke quietly. Jake Morrison, you saved my life. Now, maybe we save everyone's life. Jake looked at her, seeing not just an alien warrior, but a survivor who had lost everything and still chose to fight. We'll find a way, he said. Humans are good at finding ways. Yes, Zara agreed, her armor glowing brighter. Armor thinks so too. It is excited to learn more human ways of thinking. Jake smiled, feeling a strange sense of anticipation. He was about to connect his mind with an alien intelligence, to share thoughts and memories with a being from another world. It should have been terrifying, but instead, he felt ready for the challenge. The future of two species might depend on what they could accomplish together. Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead as he crawled out from under the engine compartment of the Stellar Dawn. The research ship had been his home for 3 years now, drifting through the outer rim of known space. As the ship's combat engineer, Jake spent most of his time fixing things that broke down in the endless void between stars. The alarm started blaring, just as Jake was cleaning his tools. Red lights flashed across the engineering bay, and Captain Roy Bennett's voice crackled over the intercom. "All hands to stations. We have an unidentified object approaching our position." Jake grabbed his emergency kit and headed for the bridge. The crew was already gathered around the main display screen, staring at what looked like a small pod tumbling through space. It was roughly the size of a shuttle, but its design was unlike anything in the human fleet. "It's not responding to our signals," said Lieutenant Amy Foster, the communications officer. "But I'm picking up some kind of distress beacon." Dr. Lisa Carter, the ship's xenobiologist, was scanning the object with her equipment. "The materials are unknown. The energy readings are off the charts, but they're failing fast. Whatevers. In there won't survive much longer." Captain Bennett turned to Jake. "Morrison, if we bring that thing aboard, can you figure out what it is?" Jake studied the readings on his handheld scanner. The pod systems were shutting down one by one, but he could see traces of incredibly advanced technology. "I can try, sir, but I'll need to work fast." The salvage bay was cold and filled with the smell of metal and oil. Jake watched as the mechanical arms pulled the strange pod inside. Up close, it was even more alien than he had imagined. The hull was made of some kind of living metal that seemed to shift and flow like liquid. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing weakly in the dim light. "Be careful," Dr. Carter warned as Jake approached the pod. "We don't know what kind of atmosphere or diseases might be inside." Jake put on his protective suit and began examining the pod's exterior. He found what looked like an access panel, though the symbols meant nothing to him. His tools detected a power source that was dying rapidly. Whatever was inside would be dead within the hour if he couldn't get it working. The panel opened with a soft hiss, revealing a tangle of cables and circuits unlike anything he had ever seen. They seemed to pulse with their own light, connected to systems that defy human understanding. Jake began tracing the power flow, looking for the main problem. "Jake," Dr. Carter called from her monitoring station. "I'm detecting a life sign inside. It's weak, but it's definitely organic." Jake's hands moved faster, following the alien circuits with growing understanding. The technology was incredible, but it followed certain logical patterns that he could recognize. He found the main power coupling and saw that it had been damaged, probably during whatever had sent the pod tumbling through space. "I think I can fix this," he said, reaching for his repair tools. "But I need to open the pod first." The pod split open like a flower, revealing the most beautiful and terrifying sight Jake had ever witnessed. Inside lay a figure that was clearly alive, but definitely not human. She was tall and slender, with skin that seemed to shimmer like starlight. Her hair was white as snow, and her face was peaceful despite the obvious pain she was in. But what caught Jake's attention was her armor. It wasn't just clothing or protection. The armor seemed to be part of her body, with cables and circuits running directly into her skin. The system was failing, and Jake could see that her life was connected to it. "She's dying," Dr. Carter said, her voice filled with wonder and fear. "The armor isn't just equipment. It's keeping her alive." Jake didn't hesitate. He grabbed his tools and began working on the armor systems. The technology was even more advanced than the pod, but he could see the basic principles. Power flowed through organic circuits that seemed to think and respond like living tissue. The alien's eyes opened suddenly, startling Jake. They were large and violet, filled with intelligence and fear. She tried to speak, but the sounds that came out were like music rather than words. She struggled to sit up, but the damaged armor made movement difficult. "Easy," Jake said softly, though he doubted she could understand him. "I'm trying to help." He continued working on the armor systems, his hands moving carefully through the delicate circuits. The alien watched him with those incredible eyes, her fear slowly giving way to curiosity. Jake found the main problem, a power regulator that had been overloaded. During whatever battle had damaged her pod, the repair was delicate work. Jake had to reroute power through backup systems while replacing the damaged components. The alien circuits seemed to respond to his touch, almost as if they were learning from him. Several times, the armor system sparked and shifted, adapting to his human tools in ways that shouldn't have been possible. As Jake worked, he became aware that the alien was studying him just as carefully as he was studying her technology. Her eyes followed his every movement, and he could almost feel her trying to understand what he was doing. The moment came when Jake had to make a direct connection between his tools and the armor's main neural interface. The junction was located near the alien's neck, where the armor merged with her nervous system. Jake hesitated, knowing that one wrong move could kill her. "This might hurt," he whispered. Though he knew she couldn't understand, Jake carefully inserted his repair probe into the neural interface. The alien's body tensed, and her eyes went wide. For a moment, Jake thought he had made a terrible mistake. Then power began flowing through the repaired systems, and the armor's glow became steady and strong. The alien's breathing became easier, and color returned to her shimmering skin. She looked up at Jake with something that might have been gratitude. Then, in a voice that was barely more than a whisper, she spoke in words that Jake could almost understand. That tickled. Jake stared at her in shock. She had spoken in English, or at least something close to it. The words were soft and musical, but clearly meant for him to understand. "You can speak our language?" Jake asked, his voice filled with wonder. The alien smiled, and Jake realized that her expression was not so different from a human's. "Little," she said carefully. "Armor learns, armor teaches." Jake looked down at his hands, still holding the repair tools. He had just fixed technology. That was beyond human understanding, and somehow the alien had learned his language in the process. The implications were staggering. "What's your name?" Jake asked gently. The alien considered this for a moment, as if translating the concept in her mind. "Zara," she said finally. "I am Zara. I'm Jake," he replied, pointing to himself. "Jake Morrison." Zara repeated his name, her voice making it sound like music. "Jake Morrison. You fixed me, Jake Morrison." "You saved me," Captain Bennett's voice crackled over the intercom. "Morrison, what's your status down there?" Jake looked at Zara, who was now sitting up and examining her repaired armor with obvious relief. "Sir, I think we need to talk. Our guest is awake, and she has quite a story to tell." As Jake helped Zara to her feet, he couldn't shake the feeling that this moment would change everything. The alien technology he had just repaired was beyond anything humanity had ever encountered. And Zara herself, with her strange beauty and obvious intelligence, represented first contact with a species. That might be either humanity's greatest ally or its most dangerous enemy. The future, Jake realized, had just become much more complicated.